Hi, so this video is covering some more advanced searching techniques, and these are the sort of techniques that are suitable if you're doing a systematized review and you need to do one of those really thorough searches that would be suitable for that sort of process that you're doing. So I wouldn't use these for an everyday search when you're just trying to find background reading, but I would do them when I'm writing up a literature review because it's extra important then both that you've done as thorough a search as possible and that you found every single possible article on a topic. So the principles are the same, but there's a couple of extra features that we add in. So on this occasion, I'm going to do a search looking at manual therapy for older people with Parkinson's disease. So I'm still need to separate out each of those individual topics, but this time I'm going to search for each topic separately and then combine them together at the end. What I'm aiming to do is to build up a sort of pot with all the articles around each topic. So every article around manual therapy, every article around older people, and every article around Parkinson's, and then I'm going to combine them together at the end. So the first stage for doing a search like this is I search for the keywords for my first topic. So if I put in manual therapy or mobilization or manipulation, and when I've got manual therapy here, I'm going to put that in quotation marks so it searches for it as a phrase, and I'm also going to truncate it so it's therapy, therapies, therapist. And similarly for these two, mobilization, I'm going to put into mobili with an asterisk, so it's mobilize or mobilization, and that also covers the two different spellings with an S or a Z. And similarly, I'm going to do manipule, and then it will do manipulate or manipulation. I'm going to leave this field as it is because I want to search titles, abstracts, and keywords of articles. I don't want it to search the whole text, and I don't want to limit it to just titles. So if I do that search to start with, I can see that I've got 71,000 articles. Now, the next thing that we need to do if we want to do a really thorough systematic search is we want to put in any CINAHL headings or mesh headings. Now, CINAHL headings are only on the database CINAHL, and mesh headings are only on the database Medline. That's why I need to search just one of those databases at a time. So I'm going to have to do two separate searches. So just to explain what a CINAHL heading actually is, when you want an article, if I open this one up, you'll sometimes see these here, major subjects and minor subjects. And these are what are called the CINAHL headings or the mesh headings for this article. Now, in everyday speech and writing, we might use a range of different words to describe the same topic. So the example I used in our talk session was looking at something like a bread roll. There is loads of different ways that we can say the words bread roll, and there's loads of variations of that. Now, if I was just doing a search for keywords like I've done here, you have to know every single variation of it. And if there's anybody who's used a variation that you've not included, you're going to miss out on that article. And the whole point with a systematic review or systematized search is that you found everything and you've gone as far as you can. So what we want to do is, rather than just using this, which is a natural language, we want to use controlled vocabulary. And that's what these labels are. So the way that they work is there's a team of librarians who work for the database, and they give each article these headings. And what that means is that rather than having all these variations in the titles and the abstract that the author has written, we have one set label for everything on that topic. So what we do, first of all, we clear away all of our keywords. Now, if you're on the CINAHL database, it will say CINAHL subject headings at the top. If you're on Medline, it will say MESH 2018. But the process is exactly the same for both. So you then click CINAHL subject headings, and you get a search bar. Now, what you're trying to do is match up your topic with any of the headings that are available. So if I put in manual therapy and then click browse, it will look through all of those set headings and try and find one that's relevant to your topic. The main ones that will come up here If there isn't one for your topic, which might be the case, particularly for quite specific interventions, then you can just go back and you can just leave out the heading for this particular topic. But on this occasion, I can see one here, manual therapy. If I go to this little speech bubble, that gives me their definition. So it says that this is a general term for therapies or techniques that involve body manipulation, blah, 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 blah. So you find if this definition matches up with what you want. That is what I understand about manual therapy, so this is a relevant heading. Once you've found one that's relevant, you then want to click on it, because along with having this really strict list of headings, they're also organised in a sort of tree. So at the top, you've got a very general term, and each level you go down gets more and more specific. The reason that you want to find the other headings and see how it's structured is because, yes, we know we want manual therapy, but it's also got all of these subheadings underneath. And sometimes you might want to go up a level, and sometimes you might want to go down a level, and you can tick more than one. Now, when you've got subheadings like we have with manual therapy, you've got a choice. You can either manually tick all of these and leave any out that are not relevant to you. So if you want just a selection of these, you go through, expand them if you need to, and just pick the ones that you want. If, however, you're interested in everything that comes underneath manual therapy, you can also use this option, Explode, and that will search for this heading plus anything that's underneath it. So just to repeat that, if there's only specific ones that you want, you just manually tick them. If you want everything that comes underneath that heading, then you do Explode, and that will search them all. So I've exploded that because I'm interested in any form of manual therapy, and then I'm going to search the database. And that gives me 40,000 results. If I just go down to my search history here, I can now see that I've got two separate searches around my first topic, manual therapy. And what I'm really aiming for is one search which includes everything about manual therapy. So I want to combine these two together. The first thing I need to do is if I'm doing anything down here under search history, these bars have got to be clear. So I'm going to clear that away and then start work down here. What I can now do is tick those two, and because they're the same topic, I search with or, and that puts them together. And this is now my set of results, which is everything to do with manual therapy. As you can see, that number is higher than either of those two. So this means that I've done a more comprehensive search for that first topic than just my keywords were. I'm happy now that this S3, search 3, is everything that I could possibly find around manual therapy. So I'm now going to move on, clear this away again, and move on to my second topic. So my second topic was around older adults. So I'm going to put in that as a keyword and all of those related keywords for it. And just put older adults in quotation marks and older people in quotation marks. And aged 65 in quotation marks. And then I'm going to search for that. And that gives me just over 250,000 results. And again, I want to clear that away and I want to find the single subject heading for older adults. So if I put in elderly and click browse, it tells me here that instead of the word elderly, they use the term aged. That's generally the American term that they would use. If I just check the definition for this, that tells me that this heading is used whenever the participants in the research were aged between 65 and 79, and this is for general use only. So again, I'm happy with that one, so I'm going to click on it. And when I look at the structure of it here, remember this one, aged, is 65 to 79. But actually, in my topic, I'm interested in anybody over 65, so I'm also going to tick this one, 80 and over. I'm not specifically interested in people over 100, that would be a very specific search. But I am going to tick this one, hospitalised, and also frail as well. So on this occasion, I didn't want to explode it because there's one of those that I don't want. So I'm just manually ticking the ones that I do want to include. Okay, and that's given me 750,000 results. And then again, I clear this away, go down to the bottom, tick my two topics, my two searches for the topic about older people, and search with OR because they're the same topic. And this time I've got 849,000 articles around older people, which is much higher than either of these two. So this is showing me that by that combination of keywords and CINAHL headings, I'm finding more results. Again, I'm going to clear this away and move on to my last search, which is for Parkinson's disease. And then search for that. And that gives me 33,000 results. And I'm going to clear this away and go to my subject headings. Okay, and it tells me here, instead of Parkinson's disease, use Parkinson disease. And see how it's structured. Now in this case, Parkinson disease is the lowest level, so there's nothing underneath it. I could get more general if I wanted to, but actually I'm specifically interested in just this one. I don't want anything to do with Parkinsonian disorders, so I'm not going to tick any more. And then search the database for that. Clear this away, tick those two topics, and search with OR. And that's given me everything that there could be around Parkinson's. Now the last step is I clear this last search away, and at this point in my search I've got lots of different ones, 9 searches in total. And what I now want to do is put together each of those topics. So I'm going to tick this one, which is everything to do with manual therapy. I'm going to tick this one, which is everything to do with older adults, and this one, which is everything to do with Parkinson's. And this time, because I've got 3 separate topics that are all different, I'm searching with AND because I want to know how many results have got all 3. And that gives me my final set of results there, 453. What I can then do is start thinking about what filters I might want to put in to narrow that down further. If you're getting a number here which is still rather high, so 453 is pretty high, but once I put filters on, that might reduce it. But if this is very, very high, then you might want to think about adding in a 4th topic. So maybe looking at what your outcome is that you're measuring, or what type of research you want, say if it was qualitative rather than quantitative. So you could include that. If you need any guidance on how to structure research like this, I strongly recommend emailing me or booking an appointment with me, and we can go through what the particular needs of your research are. But that's how to put an advanced search together using CINAHL headings on CINAHL. You would then repeat this whole process again on Medline with the mesh headings, because you're likely to get different results because the mesh headings will be different to the CINAHL headings. And then what we would do is search any other databases like PANED just using keywords because they don't have subject headings. Okay, so that's it for this video. So this was how to do an advanced search on the CINAHL or the Medline database using subject headings. Any problems, do email me, let me know. I'll be happy to help.